In the early hours, the Yan Emperor Murongbao abandoned the Yan capital, Zhongshan, and fled. The Northern Wei king Tuoba Gui originally planned to enter the city that same night. However, his favored general Wang Jian advised against it, citing the risk that soldiers might loot the city's treasures under the cover of darkness. As a result, Tuoba Gui waited until sunrise the next day to enter the city. However, the situation changed drastically the next day. During the chaos within the city, Morong Xiang, a noble of the later Yan imperial clan, Duke of Kaifeng, and nephew of Emperor Murongbao, took the opportunity to proclaim himself emperor and shut the city gates, refusing to surrender. Tuoba Gui attempted to take the city by force, but after several days of unsuccessful assaults, he turned to persuasion. He sent envoys atop siege towers to address the people inside, saying, "Murongbao has already abandoned the city and fled. Who do you intend to defend the city for? Why defy fate and bring death upon yourselves?" The people inside replied, "We commoners are ignorant. We only fear suffering the same massacre as those at Battle of Tsana Slope, so we are merely struggling to preserve our lives for a few more days." Back in the year 395, Wang Jian followed Tuoba Gui in defeating the later Yan crown prince, Murongbao, at the Battle of Tsana Slope. Tuoba Gui harbored great ambitions to dominate the Central Plains, so he selected capable Yan generals and ministers to serve under him. As for the rest, he planned to provide them with clothing and provisions before sending them back to their homeland, aiming to showcase the benevolence of the Northern Wei court to the people of the Central Plains. However, when Tuoba Gui convened his ministers to discuss the matter, Wang Jian said, "Murongbao's army has been annihilated here, leaving his homeland defenseless. Destroying his state would be an easy task. Must we really release these captives for our plan to succeed? Moreover, letting the enemy go will surely lead to future troubles. It would be better to kill them all." Tuoba Gui said to his generals, "If I follow Wang Jian's advice, I fear that the people of the south will be so traumatized that they will live in fear and lose any desire to submit to our rule. This goes against the true purpose of punishing the guilty while pacifying the people." However, the generals all agreed with Wang Jian, and Wang Jian strongly insisted on his stance. Eventually, Tuoba Gui gave the order to execute all the captives not long after. However, Tuoba Gui deeply regretted his decision. Tuoba Gui recalled that it was Wang Jian who had advised him to execute the captives, which had now made it difficult to capture Zhongshan. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. He turned around, glared at Wang Jian, and spat in his face. However, after Zhongshan was eventually pacified, Tuoba Gui still granted Wang Jian the title of Duke of Puyang. In June of the year 397, due to a shortage of food, Tuoba Gui lifted the siege of Zhongshan and marched to Hejian Commandery to requisition grain. Believing that he had forced the Northern Wei army to retreat and that his prestige and authority had been restored, Morong Xiang proclaimed himself emperor. To solidify his rule and stabilize morale in Zhongshan, he executed Tuoba Gui's brother, Tuoba Gu, who had been held captive in Zhongshan for a long time. Morong Xiang was cruel and ruthless, addicted to alcohol, and utterly debauched. He showed no compassion for scholars or commoners, enforcing punishments and executions without restraint. Over 500 people, from nobles to lower-ranking officials, were killed at his hands. As a result, officials at all levels, as well as the military and civilians, became disillusioned with him. The entire city longed for a way to bring back Morong Lin, the Prince of Zhao. Due to a grain shortage in Zhongshan, Morong Xiang sent General Zhang Xiang with over 5,000 men to Changshan to oversee the collection of grain taxes. Meanwhile, Morong Lin secretly infiltrated Zhang Xiang's army through the Dingling tribe and slipped into Zhongshan along with Zhang Xiang's troops. Taking everyone by surprise, Morong Lin seized Morong Xiang and executed him along with more than 300 of his followers. Afterward, Morong Lin proclaimed himself emperor. In September, Tuoba Gui captured Zhongshan. Morong Lin, accompanied by only a few dozen riders, fled with his wife and children to Yi City, seeking refuge with his uncle, Morong Da. He renounced his imperial title and reverted to being the Prince of Zhao. In the year 398, after a lifetime of deceit and betrayal, Morong Lin once again plotted rebellion but was ultimately killed by Morong De. In February 398, the Wei Emperor Tuoba Gui returned to the north. Morongda, the uncle of the Yan emperor, sent his deputy, Li Yan, to report to Morongbao, saying, "The Wei army has returned to their homeland, leaving the central plains vulnerable. This is the perfect opportunity to reclaim lost territories." He advised Emperor Morongbao to march south. Morongbao was very pleased with the suggestion. However, his eldest son, Morongxing, earnestly counseled him, saying, "Our troops are weary, and the Wei army has just achieved a victory, so we cannot challenge them yet. We should focus on restoring our strength, observe their movements, and wait for a better opportunity." The general leading the campaign, Mu Yuding, offered his advice, saying, "Now that the army has gathered, we should take advantage of the momentum gained from recently quelling internal turmoil to achieve our goals. The people can be ordered to obey, but it is difficult to consult them on large-scale plans for the future. Only His Majesty should make the decision on his own and not seek opinions from everywhere, as that would only frustrate the military's strategic efforts." Morongbao said, "My decision has been made. Anyone who tries to dissuade me will be killed." Morongbao then sent out troops from Longqing, appointing Mu Yuding as the Grand Marshal of the vanguard, with Morongnong leading the central army, while Morongbao himself commanded the rear. The army, consisting of both infantry and cavalry, numbered 30,000 and temporarily stationed at Ilian.at this time, as Morongxing had observed, since the crushing defeat at Sanha Slope and the death of Morong Chue. The once powerful later Yan dynasty had been severely weakened under the ineffective rule of Morongbao. The dynasty faced growing internal strife and external threats, with the northern Wei attacking, leading to an increasingly fragile state. The Morong royal family and nobility were in constant power struggles, and both the military and civilians lost trust in and a sense of loyalty to the Yan dynasty. The authority of Emperor Morongbao was on the verge of collapse. The soldiers of the Yan army were all fearful of warfare and labor duties. As a result, Duan Sugu and other palace guards, who had originally been loyal subordinates of the late Prince Gaoyang Moronglong, forced Moronglong's son, Prince Gaoyang Morongchong, to become their leader in rebellion. They killed the supervising minister, King Lilang Morongzhou, and several other royal family members, and forcibly declared Morongchong as emperor. Morongbao suddenly encountered a crisis and urgently led his personal cavalry to Morongnong's camp. Morongnong quickly went out to meet him, but his personal guards held on to Morongnong's waist, fearing the soldiers might join in the rebellion and advising him not to leave the camp. Morongnong drew his sword to scare them off, and only then was he able to leave the camp and bring Morongbao inside. Meanwhile, he sent messengers to recall Mu Yuding from the vanguard and ordered the camp to be moved back to confront Duan Sugu and the others. However, the soldiers' loyalty shifted, and they abandoned their weapons and scattered. Even Mu Yuding's men fled in disarray. Morongbao and Morongnong were forced to flee back to Longqing, with the rebellious soldiers still pursuing them. Luckily, Prince Chonglu Morongxing, who was left in charge of Longqing, led his troops out to intercept them, allowing Morongbao and Morongnong to safely return. Duan Sugu and the other rebel leaders led the chaotic soldiers toward Longqing. The city's defenders were few, so Morongxing recruited civilians to serve as soldiers, amassing around 10,000 men. They climbed the walls and fiercely resisted. Although Duan Sugu's forces outnumbered the defenders, the actual conspirators were fewer than 100, and the rest were coerced into joining the rebellion with no will to fight. Despite the numbers, the rebels were unable to break through after a long siege. Morongxing's father-in-law, King Duanqiu Lan Han, who was also Morong Chue's brother-in-law, had a very close relationship with Morongbao. However, during the most difficult time for the Morong family, Lan Han took advantage of the situation, betraying them when they were most vulnerable. He secretly allied with Duan Sugu and others, using cunning strategies to have both Morongnong and Morongbao killed. He then proclaimed himself the Grand Governor, Supreme Chieftain, and Generalissimo, taking the title of King Chongli. Morongxing endured great humiliation and hardship, deceiving his father-in-law into feeling sympathy for his daughter and son-in-law in order to avoid further harm. He bided his time, hiding his strength and waiting for the right moment to take revenge. Although Lan Han was treacherous, he was simple-minded. Morongxing used a strategy of sowing discord, making Lan Han and his brother suspicious of each other. Soon after, Morongxing found an opportunity and killed Lan Han's entire family. He even sought to vent his anger on his wife, Lan Fei, and, since she was Lan Han's daughter, had her sent out of the palace and ordered her to commit suicide. Fortunately, Murongxing's aunt, Murong Lingfei Ding, intervened on her behalf, and Lan Fei was spared from death. For nearly a century, the Murong Xianbei tribe had continually sought cultural reform, hoping to integrate into Chinese civilization as soon as possible. However, after the loss of Murong Chui, the Yan dynasty quickly reverted to a lawless tribal confederation society, where there was no central authority. As early as 394, when Emperor Murong Chui appointed Murong Bao as the crown prince, Empress Duan Yuanfei once said to Emperor Murong Chui, "The crown prince has a dignified appearance, but he is indecisive. In times of peace and prosperity, he may be a benevolent ruler, but in times of crisis, he is not a heroic figure capable of saving the world. If your majesty entrusts the great cause to him, I do not foresee a prosperous future for our descendants. King Liaoshi Murong Nong and King Gaoyang Murong Long are the most capable and wise among your majesty's sons, and one of them should be chosen as the crown prince. King Zhao Murong Lin is treacherous and vengeful, often disrespecting the crown prince. Once your majesty passes away, disaster is certain to follow. This is a matter for your majesty's family, and it deserves deep consideration." However, Murong Chui did not heed her advice. Later, Empress Duan Yuanfei repeated these words to Murong Chui, who replied, "Do you want me to become King Xian of Jin?" Empress Duan Yuanfei cried and left, telling her sister, Empress Duan Ji, "The crown prince has no virtue, even the lower officials know this. But the emperor compares me to a Li Rong woman, how painful it is. After the emperor passes away, the crown prince will certainly bring ruin to the country. King Fanyang Murongda has extraordinary capabilities. If the fortunes of the Yan state are not to end, they should rest with King Fanyang." King Xian of Jin was the 19th ruler of the state of Jin during the spring and autumn period. During his campaign against the Li Rong tribe, he acquired the beautiful woman Li Ji, who bore him a son, Shi Qi. King Xian favored Li Ji and often listened to her malicious advice, leading him to force the death of his original crown prince, Xin Sheng, and to plan harm against his other sons, Chong'er and Yi Wu, in order to place Shi Qi on the throne. In Chinese history, King Xian of Jin is remembered as an inept and tyrannical ruler, and Li Ji is known as a heartless and scheming beauty. However, Empress Duan Yuanfei was not like Li Ji. She was gentle, intelligent, and had both ambition and integrity. Unfortunately, her prophecy about the tragic fate of the later Yan dynasty was eventually fulfilled.